I scaled my agency to 220k months and then sold it. But years before that, I was working 100-hour weeks, stressing about inconsistent revenue and winging every single business. I promise it's cheaper and easier to learn from my mistakes than it is to make them yourself. Now, I help other agency owners avoid that same struggle. So answer this. How many more months can you handle the feast or famine cycle? The stress of not knowing where next month's revenue is coming from. Business coaching for creative agencies isn't just a nice to have. It's the difference between staying stuck in that same cycle or actually scaling your business. Today, I'm going to share 5 things that I focus on when coaching agency owners. These are practical tips that you can put into action right this second, and I'll tell you why most agencies fall short of their goals without proper coaching. So the first thing that we're going to do is get clear on what you actually want from your business. When agency owners come to me, they're usually burnt out from working on everything except growing their business. They say things like, I want to grow, but they're far too busy firefighting to get specific about what that actually means. Here's the problem. Without clear targets, you're just working harder, not smarter. And so in our first coaching session, we pick a real number. Let's say it's £100,000 revenue this year. Then we'll sit and we'll define what that looks like every single month. We'll work backwards together. So 100k annually is about £8,500 a month. And you could hit that with just 4 clients every single month paying about £2,000 each, or 17 clients paying you £500 each, or you can do that with whatever mix of clients works for your services. We don't just stop there. Map out how many people that you need to talk to, what your conversion rate is, and which services make you the most money. All that boring stuff that actually matters. Without coaching, you'll have, I hope I make £100,000 this year while working 100-hour weeks. With coaching, right, I need to have 3 proper conversations with prospects this week and I'll hit my goals. This clarity is why business coaching works for creative agencies. We turn desperate hope into specific actions that actually move your agency forward. The second thing that we do, number 2, is that we challenge the stories that you tell yourself, the stuff that we have up here. This is where coaching gets uncomfortable, but it's the most important part. Most agency owners are stuck in revenue cycles because they're walking around with limiting beliefs that are costing them thousands every single month. I can't charge that for this service, or people around here won't pay for that, or clients will not pay for strategy. I'm not experienced enough for that kind of project. How many times have you said those type of things to yourself? Does that sound familiar? These beliefs keep you trapped in low value work while you watch your competitors charge double what you do. We don't just talk about these beliefs, we test them. I had one client who was convinced they couldn't charge more than £4,500 for a website. We agreed he'd test £6,000 as the cost of each website for the next 3 prospects. 2 of them said yes immediately, and the third negotiated down to £5,500. Now they're in a process where they're moving towards 10k per project, and he has the confidence to keep raising his prices. That pricing change alone has already added £40,000 to their annual revenue this year. Without coaching, he'd still be charging £4,500, working twice as hard for half the money, and wondering why their business isn't scaling. Every month you don't challenge these beliefs is costing you money that you'll never get back. The third thing then we're going to look at is setting up proper accountability. Here's what every agency owner knows, but they won't admit it to themselves. You're winging critical business decisions and it's incredibly exhausting. Everyone knows what they should be doing. Regular business development, following up with your prospects, planning properly, and having difficult conversations with your staff. But when you're drowning in client work and putting out fires, this stuff often gets pushed aside. You'll tell yourself, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month, and then you say, I'll just do it when things calm down, but they never do. I have tried every single app and system when I was running my agency, and none of it worked consistently for me because willpower alone doesn't work when you're overwhelmed. What works is coaching accountability. Having to report back to someone about whether you did what you said you'd do, and if you didn't, we figure out why and fix it. One of my coaching clients books a session the day after he gets home from his holiday, every single holiday he goes on. He knows he needs that external accountability to get back into business mode instead of drifting along for a few weeks afterwards. The fourth thing that we look at whenever I go into any client and coach them is fixing your sales process. This is where coaching pays for itself immediately, and it's probably why you're watching this video. Most agencies are losing revenue because their entire sales approach is broken. You're winging discovery calls, sending proposals that get ignored, pricing based on what you think clients will pay rather than the value you deliver. And yes, many of you are completely failing to follow up as well. I have literally built and written a course on selling creative services, that's the name of it. And it covers everything from prospecting from cash flows all the way through to closing the sale and getting paid. But here's what I see when coaching the majority of agency owners. The problem isn't just knowing what you have to do, because you're all smart people. It's having someone to hold you accountable to actually doing it consistently. Most agencies treat their sales like something that happens when they're desperate for work. In coaching, we build the systematic, proper sales processes that work whether you're busy or you're quiet. One client of mine went from closing 1 in 6 prospects to 1 in 2. And we did that by fixing their entire sales process. Better discovery questions, value-based proposals, and yes, a really professional follow-up. That change has already added hundreds of £1,000s to their annual revenue. If you cannot consistently convert prospects through proper sales processes, no amount of marketing and no amount of effort will ever save you. Every prospect you lose to poor sales technique is money walking out the door that you will never see again. And the fifth thing is you need to have an agency-specific coach. Here's the biggest mistake agencies make: hiring a generic business coach who's never run a service business or achieved what they want to achieve. Worse, if they've never run a business. Now, I see agency owners getting advice online about 10x growth and other nonsense that doesn't work for agencies. These coaches talk about scaling strategies they've read about but never actually implemented in a creative business. Agencies are not like product businesses. We scale through people and processes, through systems and through automations. The challenges are completely different. When I coach agency owners, we focus on specific agency problems: project-based revenue, recurring revenue, creative team leadership, client relationship dynamics, and service-based pricing strategies. This is why you need business coaching for creative agency specifically, not generic business advice from somebody who's never dealt with your actual problems and the problems you're still to face. So, why does business coaching work for agencies? Let me be honest about why I started coaching agency owners. After I sold my agency, other people kept asking me how I'd scaled it. When I explained what I'd learned, they said, "I wish someone had told me that years ago." And that actually hit home, because I'd spent years working 100-hour weeks, stressing about cash flow, winging decisions in isolation, when I could have shortcut most of that struggle. And that's exactly what business coaching for creative agencies does. It shortcuts the learning curve and stops you wasting years on trial and error. Instead of spending the next 2 years figuring out pricing systems, team building, operational efficiency, and sales processes through expensive mistakes, you'll learn from someone who's already been through exactly what you're about to go through and got out the other side. My coaching clients typically see measurable results within the first 90 days, not because we're fixing problems, but because we're tweaking what's already working in their business before adding any complexity. But here's what you need to understand. Every month you wait is costing you money. The client who could have paid you 10k instead of 4.5, the prospect who went to your competitor because you didn't follow up properly, the revenue cycles that keep you stuck working in your business instead of on it. If you want to explore what business coaching could do for your agency, I offer a free 30-minute discovery call where we'll identify the biggest opportunities in your business. I'll tell you a little bit about mine, and if it's a fit, we'll chat about how we could work together. There's a link in the description, but don't wait, because the cost of delay is always higher than the cost of action. Thank you as always for watching. If you're ready to stop struggling alone and you see what business coaching could do for your creative agency, hit subscribe, because I share lots of practical content on here every single week. Bye.